Day 7 of training camp is in the books for the New Orleans Saints, and for the most part, it was a productive one for the offense. But we got a touch of some bad news to get to, and we'll get to all that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglu, and as always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. You've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, heard offshore. Scott Vicknair handles it all. Give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Day 7 of training camp, a little bit of a different quarterback rotation for the Saints. We talked about Rattler getting the QB1 reps on Sunday. Monday, they went to the rookie Tyler Shough. Tuesday, no practice. Instead, the Saints went bowling, which is a pretty cool team exercise, I must say. So shout out to Kellen Moore and the coaching staff there. Wednesday, QB1 reps go to Jake Haener. This is the second time this training camp that he has received QB1 reps. Just like the first time around, fans were not happy about it. But Jake Haener definitely had his opportunities today to prove what he can do. And the reality is, Kellen Moore told a lot of fans and everyone out there and the media that he was going to rotate all three quarterbacks. And he stuck true to that word so far. And for today, most of the quarterbacks played well. Actually, all three quarterbacks did well in team periods. Jake Haener, arguably one of the best throws of the day, though, with a really, really nice deep pass to Chris Olave, which we'll get up and running for you guys right here. I would say this is one of the highlights of training camp day 7. Jake Haener really always targets Chris Olave, it feels like, when he has the ball in his hands, and there's no exception there. So really nice deep pass there to Olave. Run it back one more time for you guys to see if you haven't. But Jake Haener, obviously, really rough 2024 season in the one full start he got. Good opportunity here for him to show what he can do. And that play is definitely one for Jake. If you're trying to earn more QB1 reps, get the ball to Chris Olave. That's probably going to help. So Jake Haener, QB1, Spencer Rattler, QB2 for today. And he had a really productive day. There was one minor kind of hurdle or blemish on that resume for today, and it was an interception thrown to Quincey Riley on a ball that he underthrew. But Rattler, he did his thing. You know, we talked about Jake Haener and his throw to Chris Olave earlier, which video was brought to you by Matthew Parris, who does great, obviously, Saints work. If you guys haven't, make sure you follow him. Rattler, on the other hand, he also went with the deep ball. Wasn't to Olave, though. It was to Mason Tipton. Check out this throw right here. This might actually be the throw of the day. I know I mentioned Jake Haener's was pretty sleek, pretty slick, but this one right here, Rattler's putting the arm talent on full display. I'll run it back one more time for you guys, but there's no question that Spencer Rattler, when it comes to being an effortless thrower, he kind of falls in that category. And that video brought to you guys by Doug Mouton, another Saints reporter who does great work. But Rattler not only showed off the arm, showed off the legs. RPOs for him and Shough definitely were pretty mobile today. And I think that's something that I like about those two, particularly a little bit more over Jake Haener. Not that Jake Haener doesn't have wiggle to his game, but Shough, we talked about, he is a 4.64, 40-yard dash quarterback. And at that size, that's a damn good athlete. When you can run in the 4.6s at that height, that's impressive. For Rattler, it's not so much about the speed as much as there's a little bit of that escapability to his game, which we saw, I'd say, at times in the 6 starts that he had for the Saints last year. The third quarterback, now we talked about Haener. He got the QB1 reps. QB2 reps went to Rattler. Both guys had really nice days. Tyler Shough, QB3. Obviously, it's tough to move up the ladder when you're QB3 on a day like today, but Tyler Shough, for the most part, did his thing. He played well. I'd say his best throw of, or maybe one of the highlights of the day, was one of his throws to Rashid Shaheed, who is having one heck of a training camp. Just watch this play right here for Shaheed. He actually gets blasted on this one, which is not exactly what us Saints fans want to see in training camp when you got friendly fire. But Shaheed ends up holding on. That video brought to us by Sharif and the WDSU team and what they bring to the table. Shough, one of those guys that I think for us Saints fans, you want to see a little bit more, want to hear a little bit more. Today wasn't necessarily the case, but it was mostly, like I said, a productive one for all three quarterbacks. And for Tyler Shough, I think the important thing is the days that he has the QB1 reps, he has to take full control. I'd say today, even though thumbs up for everyone, when it's thumbs up for every quarterback, I think that's just advantage to the guy that is in the lead. And the guy that was in the lead coming into today was Spencer Rattler. So when Jake Haener ends up having a solid day, Rattler has a solid day, Shough has a solid day, I wouldn't say that much changes. I'd say the leader still in the clubhouse right now has to be Spencer Rattler, and I'd say Jake Haener, after having a good day like today, if I had to bet, has earned him another QB1 rep in the rotation. Another day where he gets to be the guy leading that first team offense. So I know Saints fans don't necessarily love it, but the truth of the matter is, until something gives, until there's noticeable changes and the depth chart kind of plays itself out, I think Kellen Moore is going to continue to rotate these guys. And while some fans might be frustrated by that, it's hard to argue against that if, for now, the results are pretty good. So training camp isn't just about the quarterbacks. Obviously, the Saints have more things to get to and way more problems to address outside of who's under center. One thing they might have to figure out is who the hell is going to catch the ball at tight end. So Taysom Hill, physically unable to perform right now. Same goes for Foster Moreau. Juwan Johnson's the unquestioned tight end one, but he leaves practice today early with an injury. And Kellen Moore has not yet said what that injury is. He said they'll provide an update later this week. I believe they said Thursday is when the injuries are going to be updated. But yeah, he left practice. John Ridgeway left practice. Traden Welch left practice. So a couple injuries for the Saints today. Not that surprising that it happened. I mean, this is the time where there's ever a moment for injuries to kind of mount. It's when you have the pads come on, and I believe this is just the second padded practice for Saints players. So yeah, Juwan Johnson's injury is not great. I don't think there's a way to sugarcoat it. I've said it many times. I think when you start listing the players, the number of players for the Saints that have to step up this year, maybe they were a good player, now they got to be great. Maybe they were average, now they got to be good. I think Juwan falls in that class. Juwan's the type of guy that we know he can be a good player for the Saints, but there isn't a lot of consistency. He usually starts season slow, finishes seasons really strong. And the Saints went out there and made a big financial commitment to Juwan Johnson, 3-year, $30 million plus. And he said he wanted to come back because of the vision that Kellen Moore had for him in this offense. And he had other suitors, and he chose to come back to the Saints. So Juwan's injury, we just got to hope that it's minor. If it is minor, it's great news for the Saints. If not, I think this just presses the issue at tight end. And maybe this means the Saints go back to Noah Fant, who's doing a little bit of a free agency tour this late July. Maybe you offer him more money, because I think it's very clear at this point, Noah Fant, who's had interest from the Bengals, Bears, Saints, a couple other teams. I think it's one of those kind of situations where you're saying, if you're him, man, who's going to show me the most money? I've proven my worth with Denver and Seattle, and he'd like to get paid pretty handsomely for it. And if Juwan's injured, I'd imagine the Saints are going to go over there and up the offer to Noah Fant, because that position becomes an even bigger need if he were to miss a significant amount of time. Hopefully he doesn't get to that. Like I said, Saints made a big commitment to Juwan Johnson. I still, even if it's naive, believe he can be a better player than what he's shown. And I want to see what he can do in Kellen Moore's offense, especially navigating over the middle of the field. You know what Shaheed and Olave can do on the outside. They need someone to work the inside and the middle of the numbers. So we'll see what happens with Juwan. Elsewhere, Trevor Penning, kind of like having a smooth transition at guard. Got a little bit of buzz today from his teammates. Colin Saunders just gave him credit after practice ended, said that moving to guard was the best possible fit for Trevor Penning and for the offensive line. So, I mean, what don't you want to hear at that point? I mean, for the Saints, you have Fuaga, who's shown that he could be a good tackle. You drafted Kelvin Banks. You feel like he can be your franchise left tackle. Now that you moved Penning to guard, outside of Eric McCoy, every guy on the starting offensive line is a first-round talent. And Eric McCoy, the only non-first-round talent, is the proven dude. He's the best of the bunch. So you feel really good about the potential of that group. And the fact that Trevor Penning has held his own so far at training camp is a great sign that not only could he fit in at guard, he could be ready to go by week 1. And we saw the Eagles last year had pretty similar success with Mekhi Becton, former first-round pick from the Jets, who was an offensive tackle. They kicked him to guard, and he had a lot of success, and he earned himself a nice contract, and he was a big reason why the Eagles were just mauling people in the run game. Well, similar situation could play out with Penning, and funny enough, who was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles last year? Kellen Moore. Who's the head coach for the Saints this year? Kellen Moore. So maybe they catch lightning in a bottle twice here if you're Kellen Moore with these shifts. Elsewhere, arrow pointing up, Mason Tipton. I guess this dude just balls out in training camp. I guess that's just the case for him. And we've seen that before. I'll throw a name out there for Saints fans who remember training camp heroes. Does anyone remember Emmanuel Butler? Because that dude always stepped up for the Saints in training camp. Every year it felt like, oh, this is the year that Emmanuel Butler's finally going to be the dude. And it just never happened. Mason Tipton, on the other hand, second year in a row that he's done this. And last year, unfortunately, his year was really just plagued by injuries. Couldn't stay healthy. Had a really nice training camp out of Yale his first year around as a rookie. Got to make the 53-man roster despite missing time in training camp. Like, that's how impressed they were with him. Now he's got a do-over. Now he's got a second chance to show what he can do. And as I mentioned before, we talked about it with the throw that he hauled in from Rattler, which I'll pull up again. he has really, really come up and stepped up to the plate well for the Saints. And this is a position where they need guys to step up. You know that Shaheed and Olave are your top two. Obviously, Olave being the one, Shaheed being the two. You signed Brandon Cooks this offseason, but he's more of a speed. He's an older dude. You can't just all be relying on speed, as I mentioned with Cooks. Maybe Tipton could be that wide receiver 4. We'll see. Same goes for Bub Memes, who's fighting to make a name for himself at camp. But right now, I'd say Tipton, he's on a track to solidify himself another spot on this roster for the second year in a row with what he's done. So arrow pointing up for Mason Tipton. Arrow pointing up for Quincey Riley, the DB from Louisville, rookie. Another pick, or he's already up to 2 picks in training camp. I know picks aren't going to be the end-all, be-all when it comes to making the roster, but he's looked pretty sharp. And by the way, the Saints rookie class, I know a lot of it's going to hinge on Tyler Shough and whether or not he's good, because you don't want to feel like you wasted a top 40 pick on a quarterback. But Kelvin Banks, Saints already feel pretty good about him. Quincey Riley has looked good at training camp. Danny Stutzman has looked good at training camp. We'll see what happens with Jonas Sanker. Can he take that next step? If they were able to get one more guy in the mix, I feel pretty confident that the Saints will be able to get 3, 4 contributors, maybe 5 if Shough starts this year from that rookie class. And for a team that's rebuilding, that's definitely what you need. So again, Saints have a lot of work to get done, but I'd say this is probably the practice that should make fans feel a little bit better about this team, because the last couple of days have been all defense. Chase Young having his day to dominate. Carl Granderson having his day to dominate. Danny Stutzman looking sharp. Brian Brzee looking sharp. And today, to have the offense respond, very, very much needed, because it got to the point where you start to wonder, is this offense just going to be a train wreck? And maybe they will. Who the hell knows how this season's going to play out? But to have all 3 quarterbacks step up to the plate and perform pretty well is definitely an encouraging sign, I'd say, for the Saints. Now, what's next? What do we monitor? I think you still got to monitor the quarterback position and how that all handles itself out. I'd say the secondary, they made a lot of different moves in that secondary. Like I said, go out there, get Quincey Riley, get Jonas Sanker. Tyrann Mathieu retires. You bring in Julian Blackman. Obviously, you signed Justin Reed at the start of free agency. So I'm curious to see how that goes down. Defensive line, they've had, for the most part, a really, really good training camp, especially guys like Chase Young. Can they get back on their horse and get things going and have a nice day 8 of training camp? So offense responded today. We'll see if the defense has something in store for them in the following practice. But mostly, it's really all eyes on the quarterback. And like I said, Kellen Moore is going to continue sticking with this rotation, whether fans like it or not, of Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, and Tyler Shough, until proven otherwise. Until this depth chart plays itself out and these quarterbacks determine where they are in the pecking order with their play, he's going to continue to do this 3-man rotation. And when you have a day like today, where all 3 guys play well, that just furthers his point to continue, in my opinion, this 3-man rotation. Now, I still think Spencer Rattler's in the lead. I think the Saints had to start a game today. Spencer Rattler's QB1. But again, there's still a month to go. They got 3 preseason games to play out and a whole lot of practices to get to. So we'll see how this all kind of handles itself. But that's my main takeaway right now, is that Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shough, this quarterback competition is far from over, and it's far from getting slimmed down to a 2-man race. And frankly, as someone who really, really wants to see Shough start just for the idea of, man, you got to see what you have in this dude because you may need to draft a quarterback next year, I think it's becoming more clear by the day that he has a lot of work to do if he's going to be the week 1 starter. And as of now, I really don't think he's going to be the week 1 starter unless he balls out in the preseason, which maybe is possible, but we'll have to see. So day 7 in the books for the Saints. Let us know what you guys think. Who are some players where the arrow's pointing up for you, where the arrow's pointing down? Let us know in the comment section. Who's impressed you? What are your main concerns so far? Let us know. And the quarterback rotation with the 3. Are you mad about it? Are you at peace with the decision to give some reps to Jake Haener? Voice your opinion in the comment section. As always, guys, make sure to subscribe to Boo Crew Media for more content and stay tuned for more from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.